We're excited today to have Phil Decker here. Like I said before, he owns two brick and mortar restaurants, both called Diag. One is downtown, one is west.
It's on the west side of town near Old Dominion.
And he's going to tell us a little bit about a story, a little about what happens when disaster strikes. But Phil is probably the nicest person that I've ever met. And I think it's incredible to see someone in his position that runs through thousands of people a week, that he still goes out of the way to make sure to connect two people together. And so a really, really quick story. The way that Phil and I met is I went to his restaurant after we moved into Hatch, and I went there 3 times a week for 6 months, hoping that he would come over and say hi. And he never did. And so I gave up. And finally, I think it was November, December of 2012, I'm on the street and he goes, "I just saw you in the paper and you've eaten here." And then he brings in the paper a couple months later, a couple hours later, and that was the relationship. And now he's been able to connect me to a lot of different people. And so I think it's one of those stories of just because you're there doesn't mean you're actually making any kind of connection. So make sure that when you are online or you see someone talking to someone or you have someone in your shop, that you're actually making that communication or that introduction that you want to happen. Just because we're standing somewhere doesn't mean that thing is going to happen. Or just because we're at the facility or at the restaurant that the end result is going to happen if we don't get up and do it ourselves. And so I'm glad we were able to figure that out, for the last 3 years. But it was possible that never would have happened. But thank you so much for everything, and take it away.
Thanks for having me. I'm not a natural speaker, and I wouldn't, unless Zach had asked me, I probably wouldn't have done this. I don't, I have a lot to say about my field. I've been in the food and beverage industry since I was 15 years old. I'm 47 now. I started when I was young, and when I asked Zach, what am I supposed to talk about, he said, tell your story. And we're supposed to talk about when disaster happens. But all you guys, after listening to what everybody does, other than the termite guy and then nobody really is going to feel what I felt in terms of having a restaurant that's basically shut down. We had an explosion. I don't know, are you guys familiar with the explosion in the Selden Arcade? That's a 100-year-old building. I'd been in business for 11 years with really no incidents. I've actually been in business for 30 years. Never had an incident like that other than a hurricane or something. We had an explosion that basically took our power out. It shut down Starbucks and shut down us for 2 weeks. The 2 weeks that I was shut down, we hemorrhaged money. I lost $35,000 in 2 weeks. And, the lesson learned for me, there were multiple lessons. The 3 that, that I would go over today with y'all: know your P&Ls. And whatever business you're in, you got to know your profit and loss statements. Every business has specific P&L numbers. My numbers, I know what my cost of good numbers needs to be at 32%. My labor needs to be at 28%. My rent needs to be at 4.5%. And it just boom, boom, boom. And at the end of the day, if all those numbers go correctly, I'm going to net 12 to 14%. So if I'm grossing $1 million, I'm going to net $120,000, hopefully. I just keep it in good square numbers for everybody. But knowing your P&Ls, that reason you got to know your P&Ls. When the insurance company comes in, when our tragedy struck, when we had our explosion and we shut down, you're hoping to God you have a good insurance agent. You don't want to go to the guy on TV, the Allstate agent, or that guy that, boom, he shows up, because he doesn't show up. They spend their money on advertising. I used Nussbaum Insurance Agency. When I was at the beach, I used Creech Insurance Agency. And it's good to be able to call somebody for them to walk you through that process. It wasn't fun. Of that $35,000 that I lost, it took 6 months till I got paid back. So the other lesson was know your P&Ls, save your money. You got to save your money. My first year that I was in business, this was in 2003, I made a lot of money. And I thought in my mind, hey, this is going to continue to do, and that just doesn't happen, and it's not realistic. You've got to save your money. If I hadn't saved my money, I'd be done. I was able to tap into those funds and pay my employees and do everything I had to do, because, like I said, 5 months later is when I got a check that kind of got me back to where I would have been. When you have loss of business insurance, it doesn't pay you for what you would have made. It just puts you back whole again. It puts you back where you started from. So that's like a little bit of a misnomer with insurance. So saving your money, knowing your profit and losses, and getting a good insurance agent. And Zach, what are you typing over there, buddy? You're making me nervous.
Your notes.
Huh? Oh, okay. But back to, when I started, there weren't any breakfast places downtown. And, I was like, why aren't there any breakfast places? I thought maybe there was a reason. And once we started making money. Do y'all find your businesses are profitable so far? Is everybody, show of hands, for profitable? And have most of you guys been in over a year? Yeah, so all y'all are newbies.
No. Probably napkin.
Huh?
Napkin, so I'm at a bar and have an idea. It's about 3 years old.
Speaking of napkins, I might have to use that
Absolutely.
one. Sorry,
Yes, no,
little
you're
cold got me runny.
Dude.
What's that?
So anywhere from still an idea stage to 10 years in business. Dennis is the one for 10. Everyone else is probably for 1 to 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate that we started making money, but some of the mistakes that I made originally when I first started, like I said, when I thought things were going to keep going up, like I would raise somebody's salary where I probably shouldn't have raised that salary, because once you raise a salary, you can't take it away. And same thing, lessons for Christmas bonuses. If you give a Christmas bonus to somebody, that Christmas bonus, you can't go lower the next year. You got to keep going up. So you got to think, in my mind, when I think, like, what do you guys think 25-cent raise is for me, somebody that works 40 hours a week? Top of your head. I know it's $500 a year at 40 hours a week. So every time I give a 25-cent raise, that's $500. So in my mind, I do incremental 25-cent raises, and it doesn't seem like much to somebody, but you give 4 raises, that's $2,000. That's a lot of money. So that's kind of the way I think. I'm a total numbers person. I'm not very smart, but I can extrapolate numbers and figure out what my percentages are. And that's why I know, like when I was using that $1 million number with y'all, every 1% that I can tweak myself, if I can get my labor from 29 to 28%, that's $10,000 profit for me. So that's how you guys have to be thinking. You guys got to be thinking, how can I shave this, shave that? And like for me, it's really hard to parlay my business into what y'all are doing, because brick and mortar is just so different. But like Zach said, I feel like one of my strengths is being a connector. I connect people, and we all have whatever our strengths are. I have a weird thing with me is I've had lots of roommates over the years. I've lived in Colorado, lived in Carolina, lived at the beach for a long time. 4 of my roommates that I've lived with, 2 of them didn't graduate from high school, 1 of them didn't graduate from college, 1 of them did. They're all mega millionaires, and they started from nothing. So I feel like my connecting has benefited a lot of people. So you got to kind of utilize whatever your talents are. But in terms of bracing yourself, nobody can ever brace themselves for what I went through. And my big concern when all of our stuff went down was my staff. I have 50 people that work for me between the 2 restaurants. And these guys are paycheck to paycheck guys that, if they had gone through what I went through, they'd be done. So my concern was taking care of those people. And that was kind of a big, I worried more about my staff than I did about myself, which, I guess is whatever you're made of. Some people can just shut people off, and I don't have that ability to do that. So that was my big headache from that whole deal. But like I said, and I'm going to keep reiterating, make sure you have a good insurance agent, make sure you save your money, and make sure you know your P&Ls. And every industry, like I was telling you my numbers, every industry's got a different set of numbers that work for them. You know, where you guys don't have to have the rent number in there. You don't have to have the labor number in there. Basically, it's y'all doing the labor. So,
So you talked a couple of things. So how did you, over the years, figure out how to save money? Did you pull out a percentage out of that each time? And over the years, people have always said have good insurance. But one of the things that worries them is that they don't know if I'm actually, I think I have good insurance, but not if this specific thing happens.
That's your agent.
So I find a good agent.
Your agent. There's no way unless you can. After my accident happened, I'm fortunate. My brother is Pete Decker with the Decker Law Firm. I was able to, the day of the explosion, walk over to Martin Thomas, who knew my insurance agent, and he's looking over, you know, I've got a lawyer reading over the insurance stuff, and he's marking stuff. It's Greek to me. So, I mean, that can't be on you. You guys aren't lawyers, you're not insurance agents. You just got to have a good insurance agent and make sure. I mean, I couldn't sleep. No, I couldn't sleep from the time the explosion happened to the time my insurance agent's office opened because I was that nervous. Do I have loss of business? If I don't, I'm done. So I would have been done. In terms of saving money, my father taught me one thing when I was bartending when I was 21 years old and making, at that time, an ass load of money. He said, son, put away $100 a week. And it was compounding interest. And what I did at 21 years old in 1991, when I was managing Peabody's, I would start saving $100 every week. And that was $5,000 a year, which was compounding interest. And this was in 91 when the tech stocks and the NASDAQ was taking off. Cisco, everything, Microsoft was just choom, choom, choom. At 25, I had $150,000 in the bank as a kid. I mean, I was rolling. And then this tech market just, so 150 went to about 20,000 bucks. I mean, that's reality. If I had just gone and put that 100 bucks into mutual funds, the compounding interest, 10 years I would have been a millionaire. So if you can, and I started again 12 years ago when I opened a business. You got to have life insurance, you got to have health insurance, you got to have all these things. And I was fortunate enough to have a good friend that's a New York life agent that sat me down, and I just started chunking money away. Money I never see. So if you don't see it, you don't even know it's gone. And so, you know, and now I'm in a position, 10 years, some of y'all know, 10 years goes pretty quickly. And, you know, if you start early, start at the beginning where it's part of your business plan, where you're chunking that money away. And it's amazing what compounding interest does. 5,000 becomes this, becomes that, and it just, money is growing money. And that's kind of how you do it. Yes, sir.
Bill, I'm wondering what your reaction was when you got the phone call about the explosion.
Other than no shit.
It was like at 10 o'clock at night, wasn't it?
They kept trying to call me. I got a call from the mayor, city manager, Louis Crouch. It went all the way down, and my phone was on vibrate, so I didn't know until about 5 in the morning, and I flew down here. And, you know, I was glad nobody was hurt. If it had been the night before or the night after, they were having big events right where the explosion happened. So, I mean, there was a series of lucky things that happened. And, you know, I mean, we're still reeling from it. I'm still feeling the effects of it. You know, it scarred me in a sense, but and it hadn't been fun.
Was your first thought that you were ruined and you were out of business?
No, my first thought is how am I going to? Honestly, it's weird. I'm chemically weird here. I was thinking about my staff. I really was. I mean, I was hoping it was the hotel's fault, so they would build me a new restaurant. I mean, that's being very selfish. But, you know, obviously I was hoping nobody was hurt. The thing that's going on with me is, in my mind, 3 years ago, I knew I have to renovate at some point. My renovation will coincide with the facade replacement. So I've been putting off this renovation. So I didn't really care as much about the interior of the restaurant, knowing that I had to rip it up anyway. I mean, before they started building, they had you ever seen that company GET? They're like a surveying company. They were in here. They had these laser devices to see how the building shifted. This is, like I said, the Selden is a 100-year-old building that's been broken down, burned down, rebuilt, and when they rebuilt it, there was no code enforcement. So you've got brick, wood, this, that. It wasn't built like it's supposed to be built. That's why you're having the problems on the other side, where the Starbucks side, you read about the wall. Once they get into a building of that age, there's going to be a million issues with it, and they're going to continue to be. And our floor is so cracked in there now. When they were jackhammering and they were doing the pile driving, our whole floor is settled. So when you walk in there, you really got to watch where you walk in the kitchen and stuff. So if that answers your question. But about, that's pretty much, if you want me to go into my, how I got to that point, what I did, or
How
really.
did you decide that you weren't going to be open for 2 days a week?
That was a business decision and most of y'all aren't restaurant people, so you don't really understand. They say in our business, the golden rule, you really don't want to shut down because it gives others opportunity. We had a lot of customers that came in every single day, and that's because some of y'all have got to be a creature. I go to Starbucks twice a day, and we're all creatures of habit and something that we do. When you pull some people out of that, you can't go Monday or Tuesday, it kind of messes them up. So the golden rule, you should stay open every day. However, Mondays and Tuesdays in the restaurant business as a whole aren't busy days, but when you are locked like we were and you really don't have people coming this way and you don't have people coming that way, that was a tough decision that I said, instead of hemorrhaging money for those 2 days, I'm going to shut down, I'm going to give my equipment a rest. And the reason that I was able to do that is because the city is my landlord. The city is a partner in this project that is causing me issues. So I went to the city and they're not charging me rent for the days that I'm not open. So it makes it somewhat justifiable that I can do that. I think if you're paying rent, like my rent, $3,300 a month, I extrapolate that, $110 a day. So that's $110, it doesn't have to go to that. So I get to keep that. It was a big decision. And I still don't know if it was the right decision, but I know that I'm not losing money on those days. I know that my equipment's not taking that extra hit. There's a lot of different factors that were involved in that.
Also, the 2 slowest days a week for hotels.
That's true. Our business originally, this is a crazy story. You've never heard this. Did you know that I was originally going to go right here? Did I tell you that? This was going to be my first spot. I was in Chicago, yeah. The reason I couldn't come in here because you couldn't vent out of here because it's a parking lot. And Norfolk's got real weird rules about venting your air from a grease, from the kitchen. You can't vent out onto the street. They don't want that smell going out. So it would have been counterproductive for me to go in this spot. I chose, then my second location was going to be where the parking office was, the parking ticket office. That was taken. That used to be the city manager's office. That was taken. And then I went into an old Kinko's, and it was based upon the hotel, because you want to be where the hotel is. So now, basically we've hit a home run now. Being in position A. People do not understand the impact that this hotel is going to have on the city and the region. And there's a lot of negative talk about what the city, these guys know what they're doing. And this is going to be a different place. So, I'm not the Norfolk cheerleader like some people, but we are on an uptick, on a serious uptick here. A large part because of you and what you do. But the region is coming together. Good question, though.
Yeah, I used to work, a quick comment, I used to work at the Marriott, I was valet. In the late
This one?
90s. Yeah, in the late 90s, and there was nowhere for breakfast. Guys would come out all the time on the weekends, ask us where to eat, and there's nothing. So when I left the Marriott, it's probably right about when you came in.
Yeah, and Wednesday is when the conventions start coming in, so it kind of made sense for us.
Monday afternoons are busy for check-ins sometimes, but those guys aren't going to breakfast on Tuesday morning. They're going somewhere in Norfolk, Virginia Beach. So.
You're right. Zach, do you want to redirect me anywhere?
Any other questions real quick?
So what's your background education other than real life experience for being a restaurant owner?
None.
College degree?
I went to East Carolina, but it wasn't. I was
Just for parties?
I really was good at it. Very good. But
Stare at the camera for that part.
What's that? Oh, I didn't even know that was the camera. No, yeah, I honestly, it was just, I mean, I was so young when I started, and I actually, when I was 18, I was illegally bartending because I had been working for that company for so long. So the day I turned 21, literally the day I turned 21, I became manager of Peabody's. So like I had, I was just always in that industry. And then I started Crocs at the beach. I opened Crocs in '94. I lived in Aspen. I was a bartender in Aspen at a bunch of different places. I was just always in that industry. I didn't really, I didn't celebrate a New Year's Eve until I was like 42. So, and not to say, my industry is so labor intensive, and I mean, now I'm at such a different point in my life, but my first 6 years here, I worked every day from open to close at the restaurant, and I worked the register, so that's why I was able to interact with this, and I was able to meet everybody. Year 7 is when I opened the second restaurant, and I went to the second restaurant, which we were open from 7 in the morning till nighttime. I worked there for 2 years straight, all day and all night. And I had just had a child, and I missed a whole year of his life, and I was like, that's not happening again. So I've kind of pulled myself back, and after I saw that the 2 years I was at the new restaurant, that this place isn't going to sink if I'm not there every day, I was able to, the lesson I learned from that is, and from some of those other millionaire friends I was telling you about, put the right people in the right positions and let them do their job. That's key. You can, but you're not going to have a fulfilling life, I don't think, if you really try to hold on to your business like that. You got to kind of let it grow and put the people in position that are able to do the job and trust them. I mean, that's kind of key. Nobody ever came, I just felt like I worked my ass off for so long. And it's not like somebody would come up and say, hey man, you're working real hard, that's a good job. No, it's all about you and your happiness and hoping that you have people, like I said, in the right position to do the job that you trust.
So you just talked basically saying, let people do what they're really good at, outsourcing, do those things, allow you to live your own life. How do you understand your books the way that you do? How do you understand your P&L? Did you figure out how to master the accounting side of it? Or did you hire someone to do that and you work with them and they teach you those things and you just memorize those numbers?
No, I mean, I have an accountant. I mean, that first organization that I was with, which was the Cassia Group that owns Aldo's, Peabody's, they owned Chicho's, Rogue's at the time. I mean, it was a really big restaurant group where we would all get together and have weekly meetings, and you would know, hey, these numbers are too high. And that's when some people, you can have an accountant, but you're not necessarily going to ask them for a P&L. You got to ask for that P&L, and then you've got to know whatever your industry numbers are. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what a doctor's office numbers are. I don't know what a lawyer's office numbers are. I know what my numbers are, and they're all industry specific. But I learned from, the one thing, if I had done it differently, I probably would have gone to work for a lot more companies. I think to learn different methods of management styles. I mean, I was really hyper-focused in one company, and I learned the way they did things, obviously. And there's so much luck involved in where your trajectory is. Yeah, you got to be prepared, and you got to be in the right place at the right time, but there's a lot of luck, and that's what I've seen with a lot of folks.
How do you market?
I try not to, that once again, industry specific. I've found radio advertisement is not, you could throw a whole bunch of money at radio advertisement. Television is very difficult to try to market yourself. I think we're so Norfolk centric that, word of mouth. And I'm behind the curve. I think I'm a Gen Xer as opposed to the millennial type. So I'm a little behind on that. That's kind of going to be where you're going to help me in my next phase.
You just sent me an emoji yesterday, though.
I know. Like I said, I'm so 2010.
I got a question.
Yes.
The location down here, there's a lot of traffic, there's hotels. It makes sense that you get word of mouth, foot traffic. It's a great meeting place for breakfast. how did you select your second location, and what were your reasonings, and where's your business coming from for your second location, because it's very different than the.
Very good question. That was a tough, at the time, my dad had a piece, he still has a piece of property that is, you guys know where, what is it, Hank's Body Shop is on Colley Avenue, and there's that little chicken place. Do y'all know where that is? I forget the name of it. The chicken place is the one that we own, and I wanted to go right there. And my thought was, this would be a good spot, but when we're going out, there's a crappy neighborhood right here, and I don't want somebody to hold us up. So we're somewhere close to here, and we were looking around, and that building was for sale where we are, where Dr. Baker's office is, at the foot of the Hampton Boulevard Bridge where Dieg West is. And the building was for sale. We bought the building, my family did, and I just thought that we could pull, there was nothing over there. So you really, my thought was there's not going to be any competition. I asked 2 or 3 people, the mayor was one of them who lives in the neighborhood. I asked, I think 3 people, and I'd be there every day. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I mean, I'm glad I did it.
Okay.
That I wish I had 5 of those as opposed to 5 of these.
Okay.
Why?
They run themselves. This place is very labor intensive. I got to have 3 cooks instead of 2 cooks. I've got to have 5 waitresses instead of 2. I've got to have an expo, a manager. It's just, there's a bigger chance for a loss here. I've almost hedged myself at that location. On a bad day, you know, I'm still going to do okay. That was a great question.
How do your how do your profit and loss there compared to your numbers here? Is it the same numbers? Or?
Well, the gross is lower there. So, I mean, it's, and that's another great statement. Gross doesn't make a shit in your business. It's about what trickles down at the end of the day. It's all about net. I mean, you could have a guy making 100,000, have a guy making 500,000, but the guy making 100,000 is netting more, and that's really what you want. And that place is just, I gross half of what I gross here, but it's just steady. It just steady makes money. And yeah, it's tough. But you just worry about, if the numbers are right, you're going to be netting that 14%. For me, I'll be netting the 14% at the end of the day. But the crazy thing is, you still got to pay your taxes on the 14%. So also, that was the other thing I didn't. The fourth thing, pay your taxes, regardless, because when you go to the insurance agent, well, what'd you make last year? Well, you got to show them what you made. You can't just say, oh, well, I took home this much, really, but they don't give a shit. You got to really taxes so everything is documented. And I mean, that was a good lesson, and you also sleep well at night knowing that. I mean, my business used to be a lot easier to take money. Everybody uses credit cards now. So, before, when we first opened in 2003, we would probably have 30% credit cards, 70% cash. Now it's vice versa. So.
You mentioned competition a little bit. How do you handle competition?
Not well. Personally, not well. Gets me mad, but it is what it is. We're in an open economy. Yeah, I take things personally. But I mean, hey, competition's good. It makes you sharpen your pencil. I mean, it is what it is, and if you're successful, I think people are going to come after you. One thing I learned that it certainly doesn't parlay to what you guys do, I don't think, is keeping your mouth shut about your business. I mean, as I'm sitting here telling y'all all about it. I was so proud of what I was doing my first couple years, and then one group of friends of mine went and opened the Broken Egg. My other best friend went and opened Citrus. And I mean, everybody just I was like, damn, I should have shut my mouth, but, and now none of us talk, but, it is what it is. But, competition's good though. It makes you, like I said, you can't sit there and sit on your laurels and think you're doing something, because you can be done pretty quickly.
Who do you surround yourself around?
I mean, my kid, I mean, in terms of, like I said, I'm at such a different stage, and I mean, I like watching what you do, because you really, It's neat. Y'all don't really see Zach. I mean, I see Zach. He comes and meets with like the heads of the city and the guys that are movers and shakers, and it's neat to see. And I mean, I feel like I was at that point when I was your age. I'm at just such a different trajectory in my life now. But obviously, you got to surround yourself with people that are going to give you good advice and that are going to bring you up and that you can get information from. Not just Tivy, you're giving and taking and giving. So, I mean.
Jeremy?
You said your friend started those other businesses. Did you said, all right, so did you take that personally or you were able to look at that?
No, I didn't take it personally. I just, you know, there's a third friend that I actually put into the Sand Fiddler out in Norfolk. So I want people to realize where they got their idea. You know, it's like, I didn't invent the frickin' omelet. You know, I copied somebody. You know, at least give credit where credit is due. And, you know, and the guy from the Sand Fiddler, you know, I just want everybody to recognize, you know, it's like, I give my credit back to all the Greeks at the oceanfront that I learned from, and that's where I got my idea from Mary's. And I'm not going to say, you know, I didn't create this friggin' breakfast idea. It was just, hey, this is something that we can make money off of. Before I even did it, I was in Chicago at a convention with my whole family, and George Neskis, I don't know if y'all know George Neskis, an attorney in our firm. His parents had the Golden Griddle at the oceanfront for years. That year it shut down. We had gone to a breakfast place in Chicago, and I was in the bar business at the time, and we're coming back, I take a napkin out and start jotting down these percentages. Okay, how much does it cost for this? And within 10 minutes, I kind of had an idea of what I could make. So, you know, that's what I'm saying. Know your numbers and be able to put it down on paper is just even a viable business. And the other big thing that I learned from this, after being at the beach for so long and do you guys know what Crocs is on 19th and Cypress? I was going for a group of customers that were like this, the really cool 19 to 40-year-old, that was my group. Now, I'm going for the breakfast group. It's a much bigger group. And the thing I learned is, go for the masses in whatever you do. Think about how many dinner restaurants are down here. Think about it. Hundreds. So what are the chances somebody's going to go out, we want to eat Italian, Chinese, German, Bavarian, let's go eat breakfast. You know, there's not that many, and that was really, that was something that we thought about. Go for the masses in whatever you do. Don't try to have a, you know, little sushi wrap or this or that, you know, I mean, just omelet and that's it.
So that seems like specifically alternate advice as to what we've been getting. Do what you're good at, have that niche, know it, and let everyone else take care of the rest. You're saying go broad, be kind of good at everything?
I'm not saying go broad. I'm saying whatever product you're selling, make sure it's something that everybody can use. Everybody likes breakfast. But
Everybody likes massage. I'm not selling to everybody. Everybody cannot afford in-home massage.
if you make it affordable, they can.
If I make it affordable, I might as well be Massage Envy.
Well, that's just massage specific. I have a girl that has been coming to us for 2 years, to my whole family, friends and whatever. She charges $40
To come to your home.
to come to your home. You end up tipping her $15. You give her $55. But she's made it affordable, and the weird thing is this guy I know that y'all know in this town that is so friggin' rich uses her 5 days a week. So would you want somebody that's going to come 5 days a week, or you want somebody once a week? I'd rather get the $250 than $75 one shot. That's just, that's.
Makes sense, that's what I asked.
Yeah, and this is from someone that loves. There's a million reasons to say, well, I'm not getting a massage, but if you make it affordable and make it, then you're hitting the masses. Everybody can afford $40, and they're going to feel obligated to give you an extra tip, and that tip is. Yes, sir.
So where'd you come up with the name?
We were the forerunner for the DeArt Center. I was going to be the egg on Main. I was trying to. I wanted to incorporate egg into the name so everybody knew what it was. It wasn't, that was my one thing, because the place we had gone to, that initially inspired me was a place called the West Egg that was in Chicago, right off the Magnificent Mile. And it's funny because last year when I went back for the food show to Chicago, I found that restaurant again, and I found the owner, and I told him, hey man, you inspired me, and blah, 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 and I thought he was going to be, he goes, fuck this business, and he shows me, he says, come here, and I'm just meeting the guy, and he shows me his rent check, and his restaurant's about this big. This is in downtown Chicago. His rent check was $30,000. How is that going to be 4.5% of your gross? I don't know. So, put everything in perspective. But yeah, I wanted to incorporate egg into the name. I knew the DeArt Center was going in there, so D-Egg.
I was having lunch with Dick Gresham and some of the WPA people, and we were sitting with this group of people. We were organizing an emerging leaders in architecture group, and someone said, oh, so they named the egg because of the art center, and this other one goes, duh.
That's funny. Yeah.
That's great. Sorry.
Yeah, I remember when the news story came out, they were talking about how your focus was your employees. That was the main worry.
Right.
And they said you even paid some of them when the restaurant was closed, and also a lot of other restaurants picked them up.
Yeah.
During that time, so it's interesting that Zach opened up today with how you connect people. How did that play a part, and what restaurants helped you out with hiring your employees?
It was weird. A couple of guys that I wouldn't have thought would call that were kind of direct competition, like the guy that owns Bite, who I know him, but because originally those guys at Nussbaum were good friends of mine, and they were in the Bank of America building. When the Bank of America building emptied out, when everybody went to the Wells Fargo building, that really sucked the life out of our place because a lot of our business came from them. They had asked me to go into the Wells Fargo building, but their rent was maybe 4 or 5 times what I'm paying here. So it was like, man, I'm not going to do that. And then that kid opened in there. But saying something about who that guy is, he called, hey man, how can I help you? The guy, Adele, that owns the Granby Bistro, really nice man. He took a few people. A lot of people, I just told my people that I just hired, hey man, y'all aren't going to be working. I've had guys that have been with me for 12 years. I have 4 or 5 people that have been with me for over 12 years. So I really focused on them first. Then I told my insurance agent the people that I was dealing with, because those guys, once tragedy does strike, it's not like your insurance guys are like, okay, we're gonna come on. No, you gotta fight for every goddamn penny, and you gotta show them why. You gotta document everything. So I had all and it's the craziest thing. I bought a generator because I had no power in there. I went to Costco and bought a $1,000 generator and turned on the lights and this and that. The insurance company, at the end of the day, you know what they do with that? They said, we're going to throw that away. We're going to either throw it away or you can pay half of the value for it. I'm like, are you serious? It's something it's just the craziest shit goes on when you're dealing with insurance companies, and not for 1 second they do not want to give you anything. So I was pleasantly surprised. I think they were scared, thinking that the law firm was going to come after them at the end of the day. So maybe they were a little nicer to me than they would be somebody else, but it's not a great experience. But to answer your question, Adele, the guy from Bite, and like I said, I told the insurance company, I said, I know we're not paying these guys, but I'm paying them to come in here and clean up. And I had them work as much as they could. We had to inventory. You had to take all of your refrigerators go down. Everything is thrown out. You've got to mark what's thrown out. That was a tedious process. Then you got to think of, if your power goes out in just your refrigerator, you think about how it will smell. Imagine 10 refrigerators like that. So you've just got shit upon shit that you're, throwing away. So that's basically, so I did pay them as much as I could, even if it meant, what are you going to do? You can't just take a freaking salary away from somebody that works 40 hours a week.
I got a question. What kind of specialists or third-party folks do you use to help run your business?
Third-party folks. I'm not sure how to answer that one. Like what? Give me specific on.
Like a chef to design your menu or something like that.
That's my wife.
The recipes and all that.
Yeah, that's my wife. I mean, I probably should go outside a little bit. I just never have. I mean, we've been able to kind of come up with stuff our own. I'm actually, it's pretty neat that you said that. Maybe all you guys can help me. I just went to the culinary arts guy at Tidewater Community College because I wanted to kind of keep it local. What we're getting ready to do, most people that open a new restaurant, you're opening it in hopes that you're going to be busy. I pretty much know what my customer base is going to be. I'm going to be busy as shit when I reopen. I've got to be prepared to handle that onslaught. So I was going to these guys, I want to get some chefs. I want those guys to come and see what a real world build out is like instead of just reading about it in a classroom. And their chef guy, the head guy, wasn't super receptive to it. So now I'm going to go to the Culinary Arts Institute. I just think I think it'll be a neat experience for a group of kids to come in and see, this is what it looks like when you're ripping the floor up. This is what it looks like when you're putting a grease trap in, you know, etc. So I mean, we pretty much, I'm a mom and pop that's trying to morph into a little more. So I'm still kind of holding on.
So you're looking to be franchise owner?
No, I'm not looking to franchise at all. I do not want to do.
Whether you want to or
No,
not?
I'm not organized enough in terms of, I need manuals, I need everything to be, and I'm not like that. A lot of it's right there. So that's not my forte. That's why I actually have an employee now that some people love doing manuals. Some people, that's their thing. And so that's my next step.
To let go a little bit?
To find someone that likes writing manuals.
You're gonna open a third DA?
No, not while my kid's still a kid. I would like to, but I don't, I'm not, you know. I've got to spend close to $200,000 here, and then I've got to spend another about 50 at the other one because I'm going to expand that one a little bit. I've got room to expand the Egg West. I mean, that one has a line, like on the way, it's just so small, it's got a line pretty often.
See yourself doing a food truck?
Never. I don't like food trucks. I just don't get it. You know, I think it's so hard to do that. I mean, you know, it's so hard to jump around. I think, you know, those guys are out there making $100 a day. It's just, to me, it's not, I don't know. It'll be very, very labor intensive. And
How are you in the construction phase? Like what phase are you in the construction? Have you gone through all the design work and you're...
Oh, hell yes. I mean, my plans are done, my bids are out, but I'm probably 90 to 95% completed. There's so much, like, I mean, all the colors are done, the floors are done. I'm actually putting a $35,000 walk-in right in the middle of the kitchen. So all my refrigeration will be gone. I mean, it's pretty massive renovation that we're doing. But yeah, it's coming. I mean, March 1st is when it happens. That's when everything starts. And then I've got to be open June 1st. For good. I'll be open 7 days a week, June 1st. Then the hotel opens January 17. So that's what, you know, my forecast is.
Any other questions? Last comments? Anything you'd like to say?
Damn, hour? Went quick. I've never spoken that long in my life. Pretty good for someone with ADD, like a champ. No Adderall, damn. No, I mean, I don't just, everybody stay focused, and I appreciate the time. Love what you're doing, Zach.
Thank you, Phil.
Yes, sir.
Great job.
Thank you. See y'all June 1st.